Okie dokie. So, welcome to Back to School Night 2020. Yeehaw, our virtual. Yes, yes. The slide you see right now is Mr. Baumgartner, if you could put the link to this presentation again for those who've just joined. We're putting the link to our presentation in the chat so that you can open this and have access to all of these links. So at the end tonight, we have a Q&A session. As questions arise for maybe individual teachers, this would be the time after our presentation to come and ask. We will be in different meeting rooms for you to do that. We're going to start with Miss Goldman's video. Uh-oh, you're not going to hear the sound. Right? You can't hear it, can you? It was just playing. Okay. Let me go share my whole computer. Welcome to what it's like in our classes right now.
No, I promise our classes are better because we're using Zoom.
Okay, tell me if you could hear this. Okay, hang on a moment. Google Meets does not like my multiple windows. Now you can tell I don't use Meets when when I'm working with the kids. Okay. Here we go. Now you should be able to hear this.
I can't hear it. No.
One last try.
These days. For those of you that have been here at Back to School Night in person in the past, at least it is a lot cooler inside our homes than it usually is outside. So hopefully you're comfortable and enjoying Back to School Night. I just have a few things that I want to go over with you all together, and then I will hand you over to the hands of your capable teachers. So hopefully you can see my slides, and my slides say brave leaders and brave learners, and that is our theme. I've said this a couple of times this year, and so I want to talk about bravery for just a little bit. So I am a big Brené Brown fan, if any of you guys like listening to her or reading her, and she talks about bravery in a couple of ways that I found very useful. She talks about new things as being new and wobbly, and Back to School Night in a virtual platform is definitely a little wobbly. She talks about brave as being uncomfortable sometimes, and she calls out that hard things are hard. This year is gonna be an interesting challenge. It's probably gonna be hard for all of us. And I've said it a million times, we will come through this pandemic on the strength of our community. So here are some things that we've been saying to each other here on campus, to your kids, and we want to all be saying in order to really help us think about how to get through this time that's difficult and uncomfortable bravely. So what Brené Brown says, what Dr. Brown says, is she says, first of all, normalize the feeling that it's weird. So when you're having that moment of like, oh my goodness, I can't get into the Zoom call and the calendar won't work, and oh my God, I know what I'm feeling. I'm feeling frustrated. I'm feeling anxious. Take that moment and take a breath with yourself and with your kiddos. And I think that's going to help with the next two steps, which are, first of all, put it in perspective. Okay, I can't get into the Zoom call, but hey, I have the air conditioning on right now and it's 105 out, so I'm pretty happy about that. Last step, reframe our expectations. We are not expecting perfection from anyone this year. We're not expecting perfection from our students, from our parents, from our teachers. We're coming together as a community, but if it takes a couple of tries to figure out how to get the right system to get you into your Zoom call, that is okay. You are not less than, none of us are less than, because we didn't master distance learning the first time around. So important to remember these things. Dr. Wood, our executive director, also gave us some tips for braving distance learning. He reminds us to find our squad, and those are the people that support you. Here at Leading Edge, we're a pretty tight squad, and we all like to support each other. But looking around at your parent community and saying to each other, "Where's my squad? Who can help me?" Reframing your perspective, and I just want to compliment our Leading Edge community on doing such an amazing job with that. Our grace under pressure from every corner, parents, students, teachers, since we started school a week ago, has been beautiful to see. And I'm so inspired by how well people have come together to help each other and just have perspective. Like, okay, it's not perfect, but we're making progress. So thank you for that, and keep doing it. Keep a hold of your guide. And so I'm going to present to you some tools that can be a guide for you during this time. And just remember that you always have tools and supports. And again, practice grace and patience, probably with yourself more than anyone. But we all have to remind ourselves to be graceful and patient, because we're all engaged in this crazy new experience. And all of those qualities together make us brave leaders and brave learners. So that's our mission for this year. Be brave, do these hard things, and do them as well as we can, recognizing that it's all a learning process. So the message that I have for our students, and I said this to them in the first day of school, and I'm going to say it again, is for all ways that we want to think about it, we are back to school. I know it doesn't look the same. I know we're not on campus, but we are back to school. We are not in that crisis place we were back in March. We're in a different place. We've had a lot of time to prepare. Not a lot of time to prepare. We've had a little time to prepare. We're trying to make it better every day, but we are back to school. School counts. Your grades count. Classes are not optional, and you need to learn. And I really appreciate the message that our governor sent when he announced that all schools were going to start in distance learning in California. He said something to the effect of, health and safety are non-negotiable, but so is learning. So students and families, we as a team are going to do everything we can to make that true. And we need you in on that goal as well. And so far this year, I've been so impressed. Students, you've been troubleshooting. Parents, you've been troubleshooting. We are getting into those classes. We are making learning happen. So very, very proud of you. A couple other details that I want to go over. So one is that parents, we've been having like parent nights every Wednesday. I'm going to slow it down a little bit, keep our stamina up, and take it to every other week. So our next one will be, what does it say on that screen? September 2nd. It's very tiny on my screen. And then we'll go every other Wednesday after that, 5:30 to 6:30, and I'll post the topics in advance on our calendar and in the weekly updates. I'm not deciding the topics yet because I really want your experiences to inform that. And so I'll be getting, info from you guys on what you need, and we'll go from there. Make sure you're following us on social media. I've been a little more quiet on social media lately than I have been normally, but I hope that you will be joining us on social media. We're on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. It's the same content that goes to each, but it's a great way to feel connected to community. So hopefully you're following us on social media. And then I was talking about keep a hold of your guide. So I sent this out last Friday. I'll continue to send it out, but we have some resources for you that are very, very useful in terms of keeping a hold of your sanity during distance learning. And I included a little screenshot there. They can all be accessed from our Leading Edge, le.natomascharter.org website. And they're right there on the front page, calling it digital backpack. You might have seen that term coming from NUSD as well. And there's two things there. There's like a one-pager with all your links, plus there's a little slide deck with videos and links to YouTube and all those good things. So all your links are kind of in one place. If you're ever stuck, that's a great place to go. And then last but not least, I just want to remind you that we're going to be asking for feedback a lot over the course of the next couple of months. We'll try not to overwhelm you, but the more that you can give us that information, the better we're going to do to respond appropriately to the needs of our students and our families. So those are just my little details. Before I go, there are some other folks that you're not going to see tonight that I want to make sure you know. So first off, we have our Library Media Center team, Ms. Predel and Mrs. Kelly. They are really instrumental in helping keep our school running behind the scenes right now, helping us with a lot of our tech, but they're also instrumental in making sure your kids are reading. And so they are having weekly book pickup and drop-off times, and all the information is on the slide, and teachers will post it to their Schoology pages as well, because we want parents and students to be able to access books, like actual paper books. Many of you already know Mrs. Curtis. Mrs. Curtis is our social and emotional counselor that works with Leading Edge. This year she'll have another awesome intern from Sac State, Mr. Roman, working with her. Her contact information and her office hours are there, and she also will have it posted in Schoology and various other places. She's a great contact for if your child is struggling and needs some support with managing the emotions and the feelings of distance learning, and she can give you some tips on that. And last but not least, our front office staff. They are here, they're in the building, they are working hard. You probably know them. We have Mrs. Schmidt, who's our registrar, Mrs. Honeycutt, who's our front office coordinator, Mrs. Matson-Bozet, who knows everything about everything always, and has worked with us forever, Mrs. Duque, who handles our attendance, and Mrs. Loesch, who also kind of supports that, like, whatever you need, she can answer. What I've included on the slide is their first initial and last name. That's how you email them, and the phone number to the front office. I'm going to encourage you all always to go through them also when you're trying to reach me, especially if you're trying to call me, because my phone never works and theirs can always get to me. So they're a great resource in that respect, and they really are here to help. So last but not least, we all want to be back together soon. So the most important step in being back together in person soon is to make sure that we are staying healthy and keeping our numbers in Sacramento down. And so wear your mask, wash your hands, and above all, be brave. And Leading Edge, you've done such an amazing job of doing that this first crazy week of school. I'm so proud. I'm so impressed. I'm so humbled by our community and how our community is being brave together. Let's keep it up. Enjoy back to school night.
Awesome, awesome. So what's even more awesome is I have figured out my problem. So what you will see in a moment as I share the window again is a reminder about student handbook and device usage acknowledgements. Your student should have gotten this in their care package when they came and picked up stuff at school. And again, you can access this presentation. So you can access those links or those QR codes as well. We met these people. Who would like to talk about how to be successful in 7th grade?
All right, I'll pick up here. So welcome to 7th grade. And in this year, students can be successful by doing some of the following things. If they're checking their grades on Schoology daily, if they're checking assignments on Schoology daily, that's going to be the main hub for pretty much everything. Schoology is going to have their due dates. It's going to have their assignments, it's going to have their grades and everything like that. We also want them checking their NCS emails daily. They seem to be, for the most part, doing that pretty well. I've been in communication with a lot of them with what they need over email. Aside from office hours, that's one of the great ways to get help from us and figure out what's going on. And then we'll communicate with them through that as well. We also want them to attend their Zoom classes according to their 7th grade Google Calendar. And so we're going to talk more about that coming up, but that Google Calendar is going to be kind of their one-stop shop for navigating kind of the classroom. And then we want them to attend teacher office hours according to the 7th grade Google Calendar as well. Office hours, aside from our emails, are some of the best ways and most accessible ways to get information when they need it. All right, so in order to do all these things, your student must know how to do the following. They must know how to take a screenshot, right? If they're having tech troubles, screenshotting what's going on can be super helpful. They're gonna need to know how to share documents on Drive, and we walk them through that. It's usually through Google Drive assignments in Schoology. Also just being aware of how to share it from the top right corner of most Google Docs and slides and things like that. They should know how to upload assignments to Schoology. They should know how to access our resubmission guidelines, know what to do for each teacher, know how to complete their work and turn it in, and then make sure that they read all instructions on Schoology assignments. This is super important, especially in our virtual format. We just really want to stress that we are doing everything we can to make the directions as clear as possible and be there for any questions. But reading it through the first time super well is going to definitely help and enable us to reach out and help other students with more pressing problems and technical difficulties if we get them to read those instructions first and foremost. All right, so this is the Google Calendar that I was talking about. On the student side, it will look a little bit less cluttered than this one, but I just want to point out a few things. So if you look at the far right for Friday the 21st, there's certain pieces of the schedule in here. So they start with homeroom, then they go to learning lab. And what you do is students can click on this calendar invite here, and it will have the exact Zoom link that they're supposed to go to. So when they reach that time in the day, they click on the link, they access that class. So after learning lab, and they go to period 5, period 6, period 7, and then we have office hour links as well. All right, so what is homeroom and what is learning lab? Homeroom, that first thing you saw on the schedule on the last slide, is a time to connect and have fun, a time to focus on mindfulness, getting things done, getting business items sorted, things like that student handbook we just talked about, the acknowledgement form, figuring out announcements that we have for all of Leading Edge, whatever Ms. Goldman puts out, we're able to get that to the students during homeroom. And then Learning Lab is a part of the student's weekly schedule, and it's a time for students to focus on his or her personal learning needs. So it's really designed to figure out where students are and what supports and what we can give them to meet them where they're at. And this will continue to morph over the next few months, and students will start seeing some different teachers working in it to help support depending on what the needs are.
Can I jump in real quick on Learning Lab? Just a few more things about that. So that's new this year. And we were actually going to add that to our schedule regardless of whether or not we were in person or distance learning. So we managed to, last year we were kind of scrambling around our schedule and trying to figure out how could we find some extra minutes in the day to add in extra support. We know that everybody learns differently and everybody needs different support. Some of it may be organizational, some of it may be more practice, some of it may be reaching to deeper understanding on certain topics. So when we say that it's going to continue to morph over the next few months, what we mean is that right now with all students, we're working on how can I identify what we need to work on and what I need to do to be a better learner. And then we'll actually start breaking out into those groups to work on what each student needs to work on after we figure all that out. So we're excited about that, adding that to our school day and building in that support for every student.
All right, so we're going to do some introductions here just so you are familiar with all of us. I am Mr. Baumgartner. On this slide, you see around me a few things that I enjoy. I'm big into the outdoors. I go to Yosemite at least twice a year, if not more. I am a big fan of Harry Potter. I went to Cal Poly in San Luis Obispo, and that picture at the bottom there is me with my wife. And then teaching is actually not my first profession. Before I became a teacher, I was a web programmer. So I got some code there in the corner. And I will be the Humanities 7 teacher for this year. And so Humanities 7 is a new course to Leading Edge. But essentially what we're doing is we're taking English language arts and social studies, and we're combining them into one course that we're calling Humanities. And in this course, we are seeking to refine our communication skills, such as speaking, listening, writing, and reading by exploring centers of cultural exchange and empire building. In my course, students will explore sites of encounter, and those sites are listed there, things from like Sicily in Europe all the way down to, like Mali in West Africa and beyond, as well as then moving into exploring that transition from medieval Europe into the Renaissance, the Reformation, and beyond. And so as we take a look at those, we're going to be exploring the skills of English language arts through the content of history. And so go to the next slide. So some of those skills that we're going to be taking a look at are listed here. There are many, many skills that they're going to be taking a look at, both in ELA and social studies, but here are some of the key ones. Students are going to be analyzing what a text says explicitly, as well as inferences drawn from the text. They're going to be tracing development of themes over the course of texts. They're going to learn how to pose questions that elicit elaboration. They're going to engage in a range of collaborative discussions with diverse peers, just for a few of those key ELA ones. And then on the social studies side, learning to ask critical questions of the past, taking in historical perspectives, establishing historical significance, identifying continuity and change over time, as well as some more of those. Go ahead and click to the next one. There we go. So some keys to humanities this year and understanding it. It's 2 subjects, social studies as well as ELA, and we are going to touch on, we're going to explore both of those sets of standards. And we're going to explore them through kind of blended assignments. So in this case, if you had an assignment like to analyze the travel narratives from the medieval ages to identify the author's purpose, we are using the content of history, travel narratives in this case, to analyze and work on English language arts skills, such as identifying the author's purpose, and diving into perspectives and diving into support of claims and things like that. And so throughout this course, there are some options for help. I have office hours, Tuesdays and Fridays at 2:50, and Wednesdays at 11 o'clock. My email right there, jbaumgartner@thomascharter.org, is also where students and you guys can go to reach me at any time. I do offer assessment makeups. So if a student scores less than 70% on any of my assessments, I do allow them to make that up, but they must come in and talk to me during office hours to set that up. I usually have a piece that they need to do beforehand to show that they are working towards increasing their skills and preparing for that makeup assessment. And then my late work policy is there as well. If they turn in an assignment by the due date, they can have the option to get up to 100%. And then if it is after the due date, they can get up to 50% for 2 weeks. And then to submit late work, they must fill out my absent or late work form. And that just allows me to keep track of that. It keeps them accountable. It keeps them recognizing, yes, I turned in something late, but I did what I needed to. I gave Mr. Baumgartner the information that he needs to go back and look at it. And just building that kind of responsibility is the goal there.
All right. Hello, my name is Ms. Neri, and I am teaching 7th grade STEM this year. So just like Humanities, STEM is a new course. We've combined science and math. I feel really excited about this. I haven't taught math in 4 years, but I did teach it before that. And I actually have my master's in math education, which feels really random. I'll tell you why in a second. So I went to UC Davis, and at UC Davis, I have a Bachelor's of Science in Environmental Horticulture. I worked at the UC Davis Arboretum there. I was on the rowing team, and then I stayed at UC Davis to get my teaching credential and master's in that math education. So my philosophy behind teaching really stems from these 2 people that you see on the screen, Jane Goodall, and obviously we know Mr. Rogers. And these are 2 quotes that just really speak to me and kind of sum up my teaching philosophy into one. So Jane Goodall is really the reason why I got inspired to teach. She just has always preached that education is the only way to create lasting positive change on the planet. And that actually fits in perfectly with the NCS mission statement, because we keep, redefining the mission statement, and I think it was perfect, but I think it was last year we added the line, we're positively shaping students for an indeterminate future. Right now is the perfect example of an indeterminate future. Your students, however, have been shaped so far for that indeterminate future. And I feel like that Jane Goodall is the perfect embodiment of that. And then Mr. Rogers, he is an incredible teacher. I don't even know how he does it. I feel like when I watched the documentary of his show, I was like, if I could teach like him, wow. So that's the goal. That's the ultimate goal. But I'm really excited about teaching STEM because I actually suffered from a lot of math and science anxiety growing up. So it is so ironic that I now teach math and science. My parents still can't even believe it. So when I was in middle school really is when it started, and I don't know why, but I just somehow got it in my head that I could not do math and I could not do science. And I carried that with me all the way through high school. And actually into college, I entered as a political science major. I did that for the first, I would say, half of my freshman year. I hated it. It was not my calling. And I thought that I'd go into government politics, and that was, no, not gonna happen. And so I was flipping through the course catalog and trying to figure out what else I could do that would actually make me feel like I was fulfilling what I wanted to fulfill in my life. And everything that I found interesting had to do with either math or science. And that terrified me because I had put it into my identity that I could not do math and I could not do science. So I kind of had two options. Again, going along with the theme of brave leaders, brave learners, I had two options. I could either, continue to do something that I was not enjoying and get a job that I didn't like, or I could take a risk, and the worst that happens is I fail a quarter and then I figure something else out. So I took the risk, and I was so happy that I did because I loved the rest of my college education. And then I got this weird master's of math, and my mom was like, what's happening? This isn't you. And then when I taught, I used to teach fifth grade before leading edge. Math was my favorite thing to teach. We'd be doing it for hours a day because I thought it was so fun. So now that I'm back combining math and science, I'm super excited. It is my goal to bring that kind of confidence that I found so late in life in my learning career to your students in middle school. I just feel like this is a really, really formative time. And if they get it in their head that they can't do math and they can't do science now, it's not going to be good. So I will help them experience success. I promise, promise, promise you. That is my absolute, it needs to happen. Okay, that's enough about that. On this slide, I've kind of broken down what are we covering in both math and science. Again, it is one course, but I am still kind of looking at them differently, but I hope that you can see the overlap here. So I've broken it down into what math content will my student learn and what science content will my student learn. So that's chemistry, biology, fractions. And then what science skills will my student learn and what math skills will my student learn. So if you look at the skills, a lot of those actually cross over. We're talking patterns are a huge one, scale proportion, cause and effect, solving problems. I mean, so many of those cross over, analyzing and interpreting data. And then if you look at the content, actually a lot of those also cross over too. So we're going to be analyzing a ton of data in math, and then we're going to be using those same exact skills and content to analyze data in science to make informed decisions about solving problems. So I think this is awesome. I can see that the kids are already really enjoying this class and they're participating a lot, and I'm really looking forward to being able to teach both this year. Next. All right, so to be successful in STEM, pretty much the same stuff your student will need to be successful in humanities. So one really important thing to pay attention to is the due date and time on Schoology. I've circled that in red right there. So when you click on an assignment, you'll see the due date and the time. If they are submitting the assignment before that time, in humanities, you can earn up to 100%. 50% credit if it's turned in late for up to 2 weeks. We're not going to accept stuff after 2 weeks, mainly because it's just not as relevant anymore. We assign assignments for when we assign them because they're leading directly into what we're doing in class. So if they're not getting done until 2 weeks after, we've already moved on from that part of class. Obviously, there are exceptions to that, like if you are sick, etc. I would ask that communication is really just the best way to work around any of that. I'm very willing to work with your student just as long as we have open communication so I know what they need from me and we can figure something out. So again, my email's up there. My office hours are Monday and Thursday and then Wednesday. These are all virtual and they are on your student's calendar. And I think that, oh, one more slide. Okay, so I want to talk just a tiny bit more about the way that I'm grading. So because this STEM class is new, the report card is going to look a little bit different. We've taken 2 classes and put them into one course. So that means that on the final report card, you're going to see 1 STEM grade. However, in Schoology, I've still set it up so that you can access your individual math and science portions of those grades. So there's a math category and a science category. I feel like that'll be useful for students to be able to see, are they doing better in one than the other? So for example, you can see that math is worth 50% of the total grade, so is science. 50 plus 50 is 100. That's good math. And so you're gonna see a separate grade for math and science on Schoology, but that 5 at the top where it says semester 1, 5A, that would be like your combined grade. That's what's gonna show up on the report card. So that will look a little bit different. And I know that's new, so if you have any questions, please email me about that. I think that's it.
Okay, so I will jump back in. Miss Novello, Mr. Shane, and myself have the utmost joy of teaching both 7th and 8th grade. So we have had to divide and conquer tonight, and each one of us is in a different grade level meeting. So Miss Novello and Mr. Shane have recorded something for us to watch. And so we will watch Miss Novello's right now.
Welcome. My name is Janelle Novello, and I'm the 7th and 8th grade expressions teacher. And thank you for coming to Back to School Night. I'm going to present my screen. It's so good that you're all together and that our kids are back to school. It feels really good to be back teaching again. So I'm going to go ahead and get started. Again, I'm the 7th and 8th grade teacher, and this is a back to school presentation COVID style. So a little bit about me. I live in Winters, California, and if you've been on the news, you may have heard that Winters is having a little fire crisis, and so that's why I'm not here tonight. I am packed up and ready to go at a moment's notice, and fingers crossed, I'll be still in my garage tomorrow doing distance learning and not evacuated. In terms of credentials, I have both a multiple subject and a K-12 art credential. I love experimenting with different art techniques with my student, and this is my 18th year teaching at Leading Edge. 7th and 8th Expressions expands on the 6th grade experience by introducing new mediums and techniques. I feel like my strength is integrating cross-curriculum content with hands-on experiences. And this year, more than ever, my goal is to provide that social and emotional support through the creative process. We all need that right now. I've built a curriculum around the sketchbook that I sent home with students earlier, a week and a half ago. And all the curriculum is designed to fit within the 85-minute block of class period. So on Zoom meetings, I'm on them for the entire period, from the beginning to the end, giving directions at the very beginning, just like I would in class, then asking kids to complete a task within the meeting, cameras off during that work time, bringing them back halfway to do formative assessments, and then sending them back to complete a task, and then requesting that students upload their progress to Schoology. And this requires students to take pictures of their work and upload it digitally. I also include a directions slide in Schoology in case students are late to a meeting and missed some chunks, or maybe they were absent during that class period, or maybe after school, if they're still working on a task or want to touch up on some things, they can go to that direction slide to get some extra support. So I linked one here for you to see. This is an example of the direction slide. It's basically a to-do list, and it's in every single folder. And then there's also a little screencast where I've recorded the directions and gone a little bit more in depth in case students need that resource. So that's a little bit about assignments. So about assessments and the grading criteria, emphasis is always on effort. I feel like creating is kind of like lifting weights. So long as you're trying and lifting as hard as you can, you're demonstrating effort. And so I use rubrics. The sketchbook has a rubric in the very front of it that breaks down how each assignment page is going to be assessed. I also post project rubrics in Schoology, and so students can see, and you can see how they're being assessed with their rubrics. And there are some weighted categories in this year's syllabus. The categories include meetings, and that's when I give direct instruction, seek participation. Learning and doing is part of the creative process. That's a category that also incorporates the studio habits of mind. And then the connection category is where students actually produce their art. Sometimes they're doing some reflection pieces. So success in expressions is something that all students can experience, and we're partners with that. And I'm here for you just as much as I'm here for students. So long as students come prepared and on time and ready to learn, they are going to experience success. I know that right now things might be a little bit rocky, and that's probably in part with adjusting to distance learning and navigating Schoology and learning how all the teachers are assigning assignments. And we're going to have some grace and some flexibility as kids are transitioning in these first few weeks back to school. But so long as students come prepared and on time and ready, they work through the class period. Students need to review daily folders in Schoology. They're using their device or some form of digital way to take pictures of artwork. They're going to need to submit it in various locations, not just for my class, but other classes too. And communication, email me. I also have office hours on Tuesdays and Thursdays and Wednesdays as well. So communication is key, and I'm your partner in all of this. So please reach out to me if you are struggling, or if your student, your child has a question, encourage them to email me as well.
Okay, moving on, keeping an eye on time. I will go next. Again, I am Tricia Sanchez. I'm the 7th and 8th grade technology teacher. I've been teaching, this will be my 23rd year. I am the lucky one to have a 4th grader at STAR right now, so I get to be virtual teacher to my 180 students and virtual helper outer to my 4th grader, which is fun. So I really feel like I'm teaching a lot this year. And I can't tell you how exciting it is to be at Leading Edge, to be with this community, you as parents, and the kids are amazing, and all of my colleagues. It's just, I'm feeling fortunate to being at Leading Edge during this time. It's been awesome. This is what guides my thinking as I think about how to design learning experiences for your students. The problems that exist in the world today cannot be solved by the level of thinking that created them. So teaching kids to be critical thinkers, problem solvers, to think forward. And so as I plan and think about how to design those experiences for your students, this is always in the back of my head. How do I get them to think forward, and how do I get them to be creative problem solvers? So technology is not about the tool. I am not a tool-centric technology class. We learn to figure out which tool is best for the job at hand, and that's when we learn the tool. If I was tool-centric, that's all we would do, would be learn how to use tech tools, and that's not what we want. Technology is about that creative thinking. It's about sharing those ideas with others and building on ideas and iterating over and over and over again and getting a nice final product. We're also going to learn how to become responsible and respectful creators of digital media, as well as responsible consumers of digital media. We are in an era where digital media is everywhere, and not necessarily the best thing to consume all the time. So we will definitely learn how to do that. And finally, in 7th grade, we start to learn the design thinking process. We use this pretty exclusively in 8th grade.
It's one of the best problem-solving protocols I could possibly teach to students. And we begin learning that and practicing with it this year. We will be blogging. This, I think, is coming even more, going to be more important this year as a way to stay connected. I use EduBlogs, which is a nice, safe platform. I can put together a classroom that students can join, so I can always see what they're doing, but their blogs will be public. And they learn how to comment. They learn how to maybe moderate those comments if they want to keep their blogs semi-private. And it's a great way to help students learn that sharing is caring. One of the things I've learned in my years of now being out there as a digital citizen is that people do care. They like when you share. They want to be a part of it. They want to share experiences. So blogging is a really fun way to do that. So just to recap, in 7th grade, we do learn some tools. We will learn group and sharing procedures so that we can work on community and developing a problem-solving community where everybody helps each other and we work together. Getting into that design thinking, problem-solving protocol. And again, everything we do builds community. And it's really fun by the end of 8th grade after I've had them for 2 years. There's some really good sense of that community. I have linked my syllabus here. You're going to see all of the same stuff in my syllabus. And again, you have a link to this presentation if Mr. Bumgardner can put that in the chat one more time, as we've had some people join a little bit late, and you can access that then. I think it's pretty obvious that we need this right now for learning. We certainly need it for technology, so I won't even worry about this slide because I think we're doing pretty good on that. And finally, communication is key, what Ms. Neary said. We're all about communication, and email me, students email me. That is our #1 form of communication right now, and we're here for anything. We're here to support you. We're here to support your students. Please don't hesitate to reach out with your questions. We want to make sure that everybody is doing well and able to navigate this crazy learning environment. Now, with that, our last presenter today will be Mr. Shane.
While you are getting that set up, I'm going to say on the note of technology, those of you waiting patiently for our second round of Chromebooks to come in, they have arrived. We're getting them coded and tagged and set up, and so we should be emailing out. Let's go with next week if to get the second round of Chromebook pickups. So.
Hello, Leading Edge families. My name is Mr. Shane, and obviously I'm coming to you virtually from my PE office. Welcome to Back to School Night for 7th and 8th graders. This year I'll be teaching a combined class of 7th and 8th graders. So I will have your students in a class together with other grade level. And I'm very excited for this opportunity to reach all 7th and 8th graders virtually for my PE class. A couple things. Number one, I'm happy to be back at NCS. This is my 15th year. I know it's been very challenging and different, especially at the end of last year. But I feel like myself personally have taken on the challenge of distance learning and feeling very confident in the course content that I will be delivering this year, have it be hybrid or eventually when we get back to on-campus learning. This video is intended for you to give a little direction of what my expectations are this year. And I'm taking this as an opportunity to really look at physical education as a lifelong experience. Believe it or not, they don't have PE classes for all through high school or even in college unless you choose it as an elective. And so this is a great opportunity for me to start getting their mindsets into how to exercise on their own, what to do when some facilities are limited, and get them in a routine that exercise benefits not just the body, but the mind. I'm going to go over a couple of Schoology posts or some folders here, just to give you a little better direction on how to navigate if you need to help your students. So I'm going to share my screen here real quick. Here you have our Schoology folders. And basically what I've done and what I have talked to the students so far this year is creating a routine. Routine is really important in my class because you think of the terminology, exercise routine, workout routines, all right, those things that we get into making things a habit. So I really want to make this at-home distance learning a habit of, hey, I need to exercise today, or it's not my PE class day, but I am going to go ahead and do this workout again. So when you go into Schoology, you'll see a couple things. Number one, you'll obviously see the folders, and this is just a quick example of what to expect when you get into my folders. Okay. Number one, I'll be doing a attendance check or some type of class question, and that has no point value or weight to the grade. It's just kind of like an introduction. It's a way of kind of getting a feeling of how the students are feeling, and it also creates a discussion point for me, like right in the beginning. I'll probably pull up 3 to 4 students' questions, or not questions, but answers, and see if we can kind of guess how they're feeling. For an example, this week was, do you like the heat, right? A lot of kids don't like the heat. Some kids love the heat. So that's that. So if you see the attendance score on Schoology, it has no weight to the grade. It's just more of a place setter. You would be going into our Learn, Do, Connect part, and that's going to be basically the routine. The learning aspect of class this year is going to be just on some exercise principles. We're going to work on 5 components of fitness that we've done. We're going to work on our FIT principles, frequency, intensity, time. And then we're going to be doing some heart rate. A lot of the things that I'm incorporating, especially in the beginning of the year, are things that we ended on last year. So they should have a pretty good foundation of the material. We'll just probably expand on it a little more. So that's usually our learn section. Our do section is our workouts, right? So we had a great workout this week, and the workout sessions are from 20 to 30 to 45-minute workouts. So I will be probably adding workouts as we, longer workouts as we kind of condition our body and feel more comfortable with it. And then our connect is going to be either a discussion post on goal setting, some reflection of the workouts. I might give them 1 or 2 points to focus on during the workout, or it will be some type of quiz or assessment on our learn component, right? An example would be, this week I think I'm doing the 5 components of fitness matching the definitions, right? That would be our assessment. And all of our connect assignments are due in class. So I give students plenty of time to finish it. And there really is no homework when it comes to the classwork that I'm presenting in class. The only homework that will be required this year will be an exercise log that will be for the off days of PE. I haven't pushed that out yet, so I'm just getting the kids kind of familiar with their schedule, their workload, until I start pushing out more challenging materials and things that they can follow along outside of class. Great. So hopefully that answers some questions. I will be available in our back to school drop-in Zoom meeting. A couple things in closing. Just make sure that your student has a safe spot to exercise, right? That's real important. So we've talked about that in class. I know a lot of them like to do it in their room, but if you have a smaller room in a small little section, maybe go ahead and move to the living room. Maybe you have a extra room, not the kitchen. The kitchen's not a good for exercise. So let's try to find a good space, and then let's keep that space. Let's keep that space designated for our exercise. Another thing is I will be asking students to leave their cameras on when they're doing the workout. That way I can make some quick assessments on movement patterns. Maybe there's a specific technique that we were learning in the Learn Connect that I need to make some assessments on. So they need to have their cameras on, and I need to be able to see them do it. That's number one. And then number three, okay, encourage, if you're at home with them, or if they had PE this day, I would encourage you to ask, hey, did you have PE today? How was your PE class? What did you guys do? Discuss the exercise with them. And then if you want to go above and beyond, maybe you can do the workout with them over the weekend. Maybe you can have them show you an example of what to do. Like, hey, you know what? Show me some of those plank jacks again, or show me one or two things that you did in class. How many push-ups can you do? And so some of those things are important to make that family connection as well. So I hope this helps. And like I say, I will see you at my, my back to school drop-in, and have a great evening. Thanks.
Okay. I'm back here. And finally, we'll see how fast Miss Nobleza can go through this. We have a few minutes left before our Q&A. You hit it, Miss Nobleza.
I got it. I'll keep this short and need to knows. So I am the ed specialist here at Leading Edge. My name is Miss Nobleza, and a part of our team, we also have Mr. Jose Casares, who is our humanities support, and then Mrs. T. Chadhari, who will be supporting us in our math and STEM classes. So on the next slides, we just have some sweet little about me's. I went to school at Manoa, so in Hawaii, and I also went to Sac State. And here's just a few extra things that's nice to know about our staff. But also Mr. Jose, he is helping with humanities. I will let you guys know that he's also planning to be our speech pathologist language assistant. So he's also going to be helping with speech, but he's still transitioning into that. So while we still have him, he'll be supporting our humanities classes. And then here is Mrs. T. Chadhari. She's going to be supporting our STEM and math classes. She's been with us at Natoma's Charter before, but this is her first time in Leading Edge. And I will say that she is already building rapport with some of our students. So that is, that we're glad to have her on our team now. So just to kind of wrap up everything and the purpose of our team, we're here to provide additional academic support. And right now during distance learning, that's not always going to look like math help or like material focused help. That might be logging onto the Zoom meets, or just trying to get access to their Gmail or their Schoology accounts. So with that said, keep us in mind, keep this team in mind. Our contact is here. So I have the meeting links here as well. So if your child needs additional academic support, Mr. Jose and Mrs. T have they have office hours on Wednesdays from 1:10 to 1:50 p.m. for the 7th graders, and the meeting link is right over there. And then if your child sees me a little more often, then they're probably in my academic bridge course. I'm going to have more information about that in our individual meeting links. I think that is the fastest presentation, but that is all from me, and these slides are always available for you guys.
Yay! So let me just go back up here to the first slide. From the link in the chat over here from now 6:30 to 7, you can come and pop into any of our meetings to ask questions. We won't be speaking about specific students in those meetings. It's more of a general Q&A, but please feel free to pop in to as many teachers as you need. Mr. Baumgartner just put the presentation back in, so you have access to those meetings. And with that, I will say thank you for attending. We're off to a great start, and please feel free to pop into teachers' rooms and ask them some questions. Have a good evening.